Okay, so let's unpack this. We've all seen the headlines. It's huge news. Taylor Swift has announced she now owns her entire music catalog, her fight to get control back, of her master recordings. It's been such a major story for years now. So using the sources you shared, this deep dive, we're really going to get into the whole journey behind this announcement, how she lost control in the first place, the whole strategy to get it back, and why this is, well, such a genuinely big deal.
Yeah, and what's so interesting is that this whole thing, it really starts right at the beginning of her career. When she signed with Big Machine Records, she was only 14. Remember, she did something that was honestly pretty standard industry practice then. She signed away the ownership of the master recordings, the actual recordings of her first 6 albums. That was the trade-off for the label's investment, their support. She always owned her songwriting, the publishing rights, but those specific sound recordings, the masters, they belong to the label.
Right. And that's where things get really complicated down the line. Fast forward quite a few years to 2019, Big Machine, and her masters along with it, gets sold. And according to the sources we looked at, Swift found out about this sale to Scooter Braun's company, Ithaca Holdings, basically the same time the public did. She described feeling, completely blindsided, called it incessant manipulative bullying. And she also stated she wasn't really given a fair shot to buy the masters herself, talking about negotiations that failed because, she says, she wouldn't sign an NDA that would silence her.
And then the situation changed again just a year later, in 2020. Braun's company turned around and sold the catalog again, this time to Shamrock Capital, which is a private equity firm. Swift talked about how this felt too, saying it was like the second time my music had been sold without my knowledge. And she was concerned that Braun would just keep profiting from her work, even after selling it on.
Wow. So this whole sequence of events, this is what leads to her now famous response, deciding to re-record all 6 of those albums. The sources make it pretty clear the strategy behind creating these Taylor's version albums was really specific. Make the original masters, the ones owned by others, less valuable. Give fans a new version, one she owned, to listen to and buy instead. It was a really powerful move, trying to regain control by building something new.
And you really can't overstate the success of that strategy looking at the sources. It's been quite remarkable. She's already put out 4 of the 6. Fearless, Taylor's version, Red, Taylor's version, Speak Now, Taylor's version, and 1989, Taylor's version. Every single one debuted at #1. They often outsold the originals in their first week, and fans absolutely love them, especially with those extra from the vault tracks, the new stuff.
And she just gave an update on the last 2 re-records as well. Her debut album, Taylor Swift, apparently that one's done. She said she loves how it sounds. But Reputation, that one isn't finished. She explained that album was tied to such a specific, kind of difficult time for her that she actually hit a creative wall trying to redo it. Felt she couldn't really improve on that original intensity, but she did say she hopes both of them, the debut and Reputation, can still come out eventually, when the time feels right and if the fans are ready for that celebration now.
Which brings us right up to this moment, the absolute culmination of this really long, winding journey. Swift has now announced she purchased the original master recordings of those first 6 albums directly from Shamrock Capital. And she was very clear she owns them outright with no strings attached.
Yes.
This is huge. Because owning the masters means you have the final say. Control over distribution, streaming, how it's used in films, TV, games, commercials, physical releases, everything. She always had the publishing, the song itself, but the actual recording that was the missing piece, and now she has it.
Yeah, and the sources really capture how emotional this is for her. She called it her greatest dream come true, said she's been bursting into tears of joy. She emphasized that owning her catalog means owning her entire life's work. And she made a point to thank Shamrock Capital, calling them honest, fair, and respectful in the deal. Oh, and there's a crucial detail that came out from someone close to the negotiations, this purchase. It happened in spite of Scooter Braun, not because of him, making it really clear he wasn't part of this specific transaction between Shamrock and Swift.
Absolutely key point. And connecting this back to you, the listener, and the bigger picture, Swift herself gives huge credit to her fans. Their unwavering support, the massive success of the Eras Tour, that's what gave her the financial power, she says, to make this happen. She also sees her fight, this whole saga laid out in the sources, as potentially inspiring other artists, encouraging them to really prioritize owning their own masters when they're making deals. It's more than just her story. It could be a blueprint for more artist independence.
It really does highlight just incredible perseverance, doesn't it? And strategy and, like you said, the power of fan support. Turning a situation where she felt totally powerless into this moment of complete ownership over her creative past.
So it leaves you with a pretty big question to think about, reflecting on this whole decade-long journey and how much value Swift clearly placed on owning her work. What does this moment really mean for the future, for that relationship between artists, their art, and the music industry machine?